Good evening, and welcome to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm Nikodemus, and I will be your host as we take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. And remember, none of this is financial advice. And it's 10 p.m. on Monday, April 24th, 2023. Good evening. The first story, also the first of our CBDC alerts, takes place on the mother continent, where the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is planning to introduce a gold-backed digital currency as legal tender in order to help stabilize the local currency, the Zim dollar. The tokens will be a form of electronic money backed by the country's gold reserves held by the central bank. This is a significant move by the bank. It shows that they are taking steps to address the volatility of the Zim dollar, needed because the Zim dollar has been losing value rapidly in recent years. That makes it pretty difficult for people to plan for the future. The introduction of a gold-backed digital currency could help to stabilize the currency, thereby making it more attractive to investors. The central bank has not yet announced a timeline for the introduction of their gold-backed digital currency. I don't think it's going to take long. It's expected to be launched in the coming months. So, here are the details. The tokens will be issued by the central bank and will be backed by the country's gold reserves. The tokens will be stored in digital wallets and can be used to make payments online or in person. The tokens will be legal tender in Zimbabwe, ensuring that they can be used to pay for goods and services. And the tokens will be subject to the same regulations as other forms of money. The introduction of a gold-backed digital currency is a big step for the country. It's possible that it's a step in the right direction. They've been struggling with economic problems for many years, and this could help stabilize the economy and attract foreign investment. And now for the second of our CBDC alerts, let's take a look at the Middle Kingdom. China is set to pay its civil servants in digital yuan, starting in May of 2023. The city of Jiangsu sits in the eastern province of Jiangsu. They're the guinea pigs. They will be the first to implement this new policy. All of the civil servants in Jiangsu will be paid in the digital yuan. This includes those in public service, public institutions, and state-owned enterprises. They'll get those payments through self-service terminals. Those terminals are expected to be available in all government offices. The use of the digital yuan is part of China's broader effort to promote the use of its central bank digital currency. They've spent a lot of money on it and have not had a stellar reception. The digital yuan is a form of the Chinese yuan that is backed by the central bank. It's designed to be more effective and more secure than traditional paper money. It is, however, a poor substitute for crypto in that way. China has been testing CBDCs since 2020. The digital yuan has been used in a variety of pilot programs, including as payments for retail stores, online shopping, and transportation. This decision to pay civil servants in digital yuan is a major step towards wider adoption of the CBDC. It's also a sign of China's commitment to developing its own digital economy. As I said, the government's push for CBDC adoption has been met with mixed reactions. Some enthusiastic about the potential benefits of a digital yuan, things like its convenience and security. Other folks are more concerned about the potential risks that include the government's ability to track and monitor transactions. In Hong Kong especially, the government's digital yuan wallet has been met with a lukewarm reception. In the first 4 days following the wallet's hard launch, only 625 residents had signed up. Just pretty sad, Beijing. The lack of adoption in Hong Kong may be due to a number of factors. They might share my concerns about privacy and security. It could be Hong Kong's residents are just simply not interested in using the digital yuan, which I can't blame them for that, all things considered. Time will tell if the Chinese push for CBDC adoption will be successful. This decision to pay civil servants in digital yuan is a major step, however. China is expanding the use cases of its digital yuan. Now, one case is cross-border trade. The digital yuan is one of the first to be developed and widely tested, and China has been actively promoting its use in recent months. Zhuzhou is a city that serves as the departure point for many goods trains from China headed for Europe, and they have a plan to promote the use of its digital yuan in cross-border trade. Suzhou is a trade hub, and this plan calls for the use of the digital yuan to pay for services and storage charges for goods carried by cross-border trains. The plan also calls for using the digital yuan to pay taxes and utility services at some point in the future. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority said the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area will be a testing ground for making cross-border payments using the digital yuan. The Chinese government has ramped up its CBDC efforts. This comes at a time when the international trade markets are moving away from the standard US dollar. And China's behind that push. For example, China has recently completed multiple trade treaties with the likes of Russia and India based on their national currency, not the US dollar. The use of the digital yuan in cross-border trade is poised to have a significant impact on the global financial system. The digital yuan may provide a more efficient and secure way to make cross-border payments. It may also help to reduce the reliance on the US dollar, however you feel about that. Now, all this crystal gazing aside, it's too early to say what the long-term impact of the digital yuan will be. That said, I have to think that China's efforts to promote it shows that they are serious about challenging the US dollar's dominance in global finance. And for our last CBDC alert, members of the European Parliament can still stop the European Central Bank from issuing a digital euro. This came from board member Fabio Panetta on Monday. Panetta's comments came as lawmakers expressed increasing doubts about the value of a digital euro. The central bank has previously said that it will decide whether to proceed with one later this year. That may have changed. May not happen at all. Panetta's remarks suggest that political opposition could still prove a decisive obstacle. He said, quote, "There should be a political decision to issue a digital euro, and then the central bank should be ready to respond." He continued by saying that if there is a political mandate not to proceed, he can't see any way the bank would choose to progress. Panetta urged lawmakers to pass new laws making the digital euro legal tender. This would mean that any merchants that take digital payments, they would also have to accept the CBDC. He said, quote, "We want to be sure that any situation, in any circumstance, we will have a framework that would allow all European citizens to pay everywhere in a safe and efficient manner at cheap costs." He cited research suggesting that citizens see the ability to pay anywhere as the most important feature of a digital currency. The ECB is also considering how to include the population that doesn't have and does not want a bank account. This might mean identity checks at the post office, or online, or through other intermediaries. During the debate, Jonas Fernandez joined the chorus of lawmakers who ask, what is the point of this initiative? He said, quote, "Some people are calling into question of whether it's necessary to have a digital euro when it's so difficult to distinguish it from any other payment method." Panetta is undeterred. He told a Brussels audience earlier Monday that he didn't see remarks from lawmakers as skepticism. Instead, he said he welcomes scrutiny of his ideas. Quote, "I think they are rightly interested in understanding the details. If we make mistakes, there could be big damage. We will not make mistakes, but I think it is good that others want to check this." The future of the digital euro is still uncertain. Panetta's comments do suggest the ECB is determined to press ahead with the project. Only time will tell whether the digital euro will ever become a reality. And now we're at that point where I'm going to ask you to like, follow, and subscribe to the Crypto Overnighter podcast, because it really does make a big difference when attracting new attention to the show. Do Kwon's lawyers filed a motion to dismiss the charges brought against him by the Securities Exchange Commission. Now, the SEC alleges that Kwon defrauded investors by selling unregistered securities. They specifically named the Terra USD stablecoin. Kwon's lawyers argue that the SEC doesn't have jurisdiction to bring these charges. They said the stablecoin is not a security under U.S. law. They argue that the SEC failed to prove that Kwon intended to defraud investors. They said that the charges are based on speculation and conjecture. The SEC has until May 12th to respond. In other news, a South Korean district court has dismissed charges of securities violations against Terraform Labs CEO and co-founder Daniel Shin. The court classified Luna as a non-security under Korea's Capital Markets Act. The prosecution argued Luna's fraudulent transactions breached Capital Market Act. They also brought up crimes involving property, specifically fraud. That makes property confiscation a possibility under law. Instead, the court rejected the prosecution's request for confiscation of Shin's properties. They said that it had not been proven that the property had been, quote, acquired by a crime or an asset derived from it. The ruling is notable because it states categorically Luna is not a security. In the past, other courts have said things like, there's room for dispute in terms of the law, or it is questionable whether the Capital Market Act can be applied. The lawyer representing Shin said the court rejected the prosecution's requests for an arrest warrant for his client and other individuals associated with the case. He said Luna could not be considered an investment product since that ruling came down. This ruling makes the Terra Luna saga a case of fraud and a breach of trust, not a violation of the Capital Markets Act. For now, prosecution is still focusing on the securities aspect of the native token. They also appealed to the Supreme Court. Now, this judgment by the Korean District Court is very different from the stance of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. So we will continue to follow this story and bring you updates as they become available. But for now, let's stay with the land of the morning calm. The Bank of Korea has been given the green light to investigate cryptocurrency service providers and issuers in South Korea. The central bank will now be able to request transaction data from crypto exchanges as well as other crypto service providers. This will let them monitor the market and identify potential risks. The Financial Services Commission will still have the final say in the regulation of the digital assets sector. However, the bank's new powers are a big step towards increased oversight of the cryptocurrency market in South Korea. The FSC has been quite active lately. They've carried out multiple enforcement actions against crypto companies. The agency has taken the same position as the US SEC. They also consider crypto assets securities. But it doesn't look like that tactic is going to work out from them based on the Luna ruling. The Financial Supervisory Service operates under the FSC. They announced an investigative body called the Digital Assets Committee. The committee has been tasked with investigating potential crimes related to cryptocurrencies. The increased scrutiny of the cryptocurrency market in South Korea just goes to show the importance of this asset class. As cryptocurrencies become more mainstream, regulators around the world are taking steps to ensure that they are properly regulated. So what does this mean for investors? The increased scrutiny of the market is likely to have a number of implications. First, as always, because you can't say it enough, it's important to be aware of the risks associated with crypto. Cryptocurrencies are a new and volatile asset class. They are not without their risks. Investors should carefully consider their investment objectives as well as their risk tolerance before investing. Second, investors need to be aware of the regulatory landscape in South Korea. The FSC has taken a relatively cautious approach to regulating crypto so far. It is possible that they will take additional steps to restrict the use of crypto in the future. Investors should be paying attention to the regulatory landscape closely. They need to be prepared to adjust their investment strategies accordingly. And finally, investors should be aware of the tax implication of crypto investments. The South Korean government has not yet issued clear guidance on how cryptocurrencies are to be taxed. Investors should sit down with a tax advisor to determine how their crypto investments will be taxed. And the Bank of Korea might not be the only one getting new powers. This brings us to our cover story for the night. The United States Treasury, as well as a number of top U.S. financial regulators, proposed new rules. Rules that would make it easier for the Federal Reserve to designate non-bank institutions as systemically important. This allows them to supervise and regulate these institutions more closely, nominally in an effort to prevent another financial crisis. Non-bank financial institutions are those that don't have a bank license, but they still provide financial services. This includes a wide range of entities like hedge funds and private equity firms, insurance companies. They're not subject to the same level of regulation as banks. That's something that has raised concerns about their potential to contribute to systemic risk. These rules streamline the process for designating non-bank institutions systemically important. Under the current rules, the process can take up to 6 years. These rules shorten the process to a matter of months. The new rules also expand the criteria that regulators can use to designate non-bank institutions as systemically important. This would include factors like the size and interconnectedness of the institution, as well as the nature of its activities. The proposed rules are still in the early stages. They would still need to be approved by the Federal Reserve Board. They are, however, a significant step forward in efforts to strengthen the regulation of non-bank financial institutions. In the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, there was a growing recognition that non-bank financial institutions could pose a significant risk to the financial system. These new rules are intended to address this risk and prevent another crisis. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe, leave a rating or a review. And in the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow night.